Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. So for today I'm going to give you a tutorial on how to make this here little crochet vest that I made. I am only going to be giving you instructions on how to make like the actual square itself, and then how to connect them, and then little tips on how you might want to get the measurements for you, and so you'll know like how many different squares and stuff that you'll have to make. Hopefully my instructions do you guys well. I really don't want to push out a cruddy tutorial, but I will try my best. So I hope you guys enjoy the video, and definitely tag my Instagram in any photos that you guys post of you wearing your little vests if you make them, because I would really like to see like what colors you guys choose and like, you know, how you just decide to put it together and all that stuff. I actually do think it would be kind of cool to get to see that. So let's go ahead and go straight into the video.
Alright, so to start us off, we're going to go ahead and create a slip stitch, or a slip knot, excuse me. So you create your slip knot, and then you're going to go ahead and create a chain of 4. Make sure that you don't make these too tight. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4. After you have your chain of 4, you're going to go ahead back into this very first little chain and slip stitch. Okay. Now you are going to go ahead, you can move that end out of your way, you're going to go ahead and chain 3. Okay. Now we're going to add some double crochets into the center of this little chain circle that we've created. So go ahead into the center, put 1 double crochet in there. Then we're going to go ahead and chain 2 and put 2 more double crochets in there, right in the center of that opening. So that was 1 and 2. Then we're going to go ahead and chain 2. Then we're going to go ahead and do another 2 double crochets. And chain 2, and one more time 2 more double crochets, and chain 2. Oops. Okay. Now to close this off, we are going to slip stitch into the top of this chain 3 that we started off with for this round. So go ahead and shimmy your way into that V, pull through. But now you should kind of be able to see that we have our 2 double crochets, a chain 2 space, 2 double crochets, chain 2 space, and it goes all the way around. Your chain 2 spaces should be like the corners of your square. Right? So that is the end of round 1. Okay, so moving into round 2, we are going to first chain 1, then in between these 2 double crochets, which is really just 1 double crochet in our chain 3 where we first started off our round 1, we are going to slip stitch so we sit more nicely in between those 2 chains, or excuse me, those 2 double crochets. Now from here we're going to do something a little different. So you're going to yarn over, pull up a loop. And we're going to do that 2 more times. Yarn over, pull up a loop, and and yarn over, pull up a loop. Okay? Then from here, you're going to yarn over and you're going to pull through all of those loops except the very last one. I'm going to leave that one out. Then you're going to yarn over and pull through those last two. So after you pulled through those two, then you're going to chain one, and we're going to move over into our next opening, which if you look, you should notice that it is your chain two space. So we're going to make two of these little clusters there. So yarn over, pull up once, yarn over, pull up a second time, yarn over, pull up a third time, then we yarn over, pull through all but the last, and then yarn over and pull through what remains. Now this is our corner, so chain 1, 2, and repeat, pulling up your yarn 3 times. So that was 1, oops, excuse me, 2, 3, yarn over, pull through all but the last, yarn over, pull through what remains, chain 1, and we move over to our next opening, which is in between our 2 double crochets. So we're only going to put one of these little clusters there. So we just yarn over, pull up 3 times, that's 2, that's 3, pull through all of those, pull through the last 2, chain 1, move over to our next opening, which is another chain 2, so that's another corner. So we'll put 2 more of these clusters in here. So pull up 3 times, pull through all but the last, pull through what remains, chain 2, and repeat. Okay. Then chain 1, move over to our next opening, which again is in between our 2 double crochets. So yarn over, pull up 3 times, okay, once you've done that one, chain 1, move over to your next opening. Again, it's another corner, so we're going to put 2 of these little clusters there. So you pull up a yarn 3 times, pull through all but the last, pull through the remaining, chain 2, repeat that process one more time in that same opening. Chain 1, almost there, 2 more double crochets, so we separate that with one of these little clusters. Yarn over, pull up 3, pull through all but the last, pull through what remains, chain 1, last corner, yarn over, pull up once, twice, a third time, yarn over, pull through all but the last, yarn over, pull through the remaining 2, chain 2, yarn over, pull up 3 times, then yarn over, pull through all but the last, yarn over, pull through those last two, chain one, and then you'll notice that brings us right back to where we started with this first little cluster we made that sits in between our initial chain 3 and our double crochet from the previous round. So from here you're going to go ahead and slip stitch into the space right above that first little cluster we made, and that is how you close off round 2. So now moving into round 3, you're going to start off by chaining 3, and then you are going to go ahead and put 1 double crochet in this first little opening here, and that chain 3 that we did is going to count as the second double crochet for this opening. So we can go ahead and move on into our next opening, which is a corner, because we see our 2 little clusters sitting here. So we're going to do 3 double crochets here, but we are going to separate them with a chain 2. So that was our first double crochet, chain 2, do our second double crochet and chain 2, and then just do 1 more double crochet. Then we move over to our next opening, which is not a corner. Our next corner isn't until over here. So we see we have 2 little openings that we are going to put 2 double crochets in each. So 2 double crochets in this first one, and then move over to the second one, 2 double crochets in that opening. And then that brings us to our next corner with our 2 little clusters there. So we have our 3 double crochets that we're going to do, and we're going to separate them once again with a chain 2. So that's our first double crochet, our chain 2, second double crochet, chain 2, third double crochet. Then our next 2 openings are just normal 2 double crochet spaces. So it's 1, 2, move over to the next, 1, 2, then we're back at a corner space, so 3 double crochets separated by a chain 2. So 1 double crochet, chain 2, second double crochet, chain 2, and our third double crochet. Move over to the next space, and the next 2 are regular spaces, so just 2 double crochets in each. And then that brings us to our last corner, so 3 double crochets separated by a chain 2, and then we have 1 more little opening before we get to where we started off at, so we're just going to put 2 double crochets in here. Alright, and then we are going to slip stitch into the top of this chain 3 that started off this third round for us. Okay, then you're going to chain 1, go ahead and grab your scissors, cut off a pretty decent long or length tail, and drop your yarn and pull through, tighten off, oops, sorry for the shaking, and that is it. This is how you make your square. So you're just going to go ahead and repeat
this process over for however many squares you need. Alright, so now that you know how to make the square itself, let's go over how many you'll need to actually get through the whole project. So to make a size small, which it has a little bit of giveaway, so I would say this would be like a small medium, it took me 34 squares. So if you wear a bigger size, you're going to want to add to the amount of squares that you're going to make in total. So in order to get the amount of squares that I needed, I just held my tape measure up against the side seam of my shirt, and then I hold it in place of where I want, you know, my vest front panel, just one side, to end. So for me, that was at 6 inches because I knew it would stretch a little bit and I didn't want the center where it meets to overlap. So I did just 6 inches, and then I took my square and I measured that, and I see that this one exactly measures 3 inches, but you know, a little bit more than 3 is perfectly fine. You're still good if you're making a, you know, like size small or medium. So I knew one square was roughly 3 inches, okay, and I wanted it to be 6 inches, so that's 2 squares across. So they had to be 2 squares wide, and then to figure out how long I wanted it, not including the straps, I just took my tape measure to where I just about wanted it to sit, and then I just measured down to how long I thought I wanted it. I ended up having it be 9 inches. So if one square is 3 inches, then 3 squares is 9. So that is how I got my measurements. So just one side of my front panel is 6 squares. So for both sides, I had to make 12 squares total. And then for the back, I literally just said, okay, well, I have to make 12 squares to make the front, so I will just make 12 more squares to make the back panel. So I ended up with 24 squares just for the front and back panel. Then to do the straps, what I did was I just draped my tape measurer over my shoulder, and holding it kind of sort of in place on my back, I just, you know, from where I left off of, you know, where the front panel would sit, I just measured up from there. So I got an idea of where I wanted that to be. For me, that was roughly 12 inches, and then same situation, just hold it up to your square and, you know, fold over if you don't feel like doing math, or just think in your head, okay, for whatever measurement my square is, how many inches does that correlate to get my strap length, and then make that many squares. For me personally, to get 12 inches worth of square length, I had to make 4 squares. So each of my straps were 4 inches long. So now that you know how many squares you are going to need to make your size, go ahead and make that amount of squares, and then I will catch up with you guys once you guys are ready to connect them all. One thing that I want to point out as you go to connect your squares is that I did not cut these loose ends. I thought it looks really cool to have a bunch of loose ends just hanging all over the place. So when you guys look at mine, you see that like I have a bunch of my loose ends just hanging out. I think it looks really cool like this, but if you want to, either while you're making your squares or after you've made all your squares and you're going to connect all of them, you can go in and, you know, like weave them in through everything, but I really feel like that's not needed. So, you know, use your own discretion what you want the overall final product to look like, but just know when I made mine, I did not weave in any ends. Hi. So I tried several times. Oh, by the way, sorry for the video quality, but it's whatever. I tried several times to film me connecting all of the squares, but I just could not get the angle right, and I feel like that's not going to help anybody. So I'm going to leave some videos in the description on how other people have connected their squares, and I will just let you guys follow their much better instruction, because I just don't have it in me. I tried. It wasn't good. I'm not going to do that to you guys. So enjoy the diagram. Alright, so here is your very lovely diagram. So here we have all of our squares. So these are the sides of the front. So these 2 squares here and these 3 squares here would connect. There would be slip stitches right along here and here connecting these 2, and that's your shoulder strap. I just didn't want to like connect it in the diagram because I thought that might be confusing, but now that I'm looking at this might be confusing too. So yeah, I'm gonna get rid of this. Yeah, we're gonna scratch the diagram. Okay, so now that I go back and look at it, maybe the diagram wasn't all that bad. But so here's the front, like if you, oopsies, if you fold it over, I feel like it's so hard to properly look at this, but you'll see like these are the front sides. So I have my 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 panels for the front, and then 6 more on the back. I'm dealing just with one side, and on that back center I connected the straps to the middle, back, and the front. And then on the ends, what I did was I just, you know, slip stitched these together and then made chains for the front ties. I feel like the video is going to get very hectic at this point because I don't know how to describe how I connected all of these. But as you can hopefully kind of see, like all of these are slip stitches going down, connecting my squares together, and then the only places I had to go in and take a little extra string to just connect the very ends together where, you know, they weren't attached on both ends this way, was just here at the tied sides and then up here on the shoulder straps, which I think it was actually only right here where you connect your straps on these 2 ends to the main like body part of your vest. I really hope this is making sense. I apologize very much so if it doesn't, but yeah, I don't know another way to explain this. Yeah, so I really hope that you were able to follow along to the end of this tutorial. I really did not want it to end off on such a me feeling uneasy note of, you know, like me just unsure of whether or not you're going to be able to follow this clearly to the end. But hopefully what I showed you between my, you know, super artistic diagram and just actually showing you the vest itself, you know, hopefully that'll give you an idea of how to put this all together. If things don't make sense and you guys know of a much better way to explain it than I did, help each other out in the comments below, because I just wasted a bunch of hours just trying to figure out how to properly explain that, and I still did not come up to a satisfactory conclusion. So that's where the video is going to end today. If you managed to get through the end of this tutorial and have your very own crocheted little cute vest, definitely tag my Instagram in any photos that you post, and I will take a look at them and love on your post and your lovely crochet skills. So that is all for today's video. Thank you for watching, and I will see you guys in my next video. Bye guys.